He sat on the floor of his son's empty room, holding the little toy car his boy used to love. The sun was setting, casting a soft golden glow on the walls, but inside him, there was only darkness. He hadn't spoken to anyone all day. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. Because every corner of that room echoed with the laughter that wasn't there anymore. And as tears fell quietly onto the wooden floor, he whispered the words no parent ever wants to say. God. I can't survive this. He didn't know it then, but in the middle of the deepest pain of his life, heaven was already preparing to step into his story. That morning had been ordinary. Beautifully ordinary. He packed his son's lunchbox, added an extra cookie like he always did, and kissed his forehead before school. Nothing unusual. Nothing strange. Just a father loving his little boy. If he had known it was the last time, he would have held him longer. He would have memorized his smile. But life doesn't warn us before it breaks us. The knock at the door felt strange. Too urgent. Too sharp. When he opened it, 2 officers stood silently, their faces heavy with sorrow. In that instant, his soul understood. His knees weakened. His breath collapsed. All he heard was a distant voice saying, "There was an accident, we're so sorry." The world around him faded into nothing. He ran through the hospital hallway like a man drowning, gasping for air he could not find. Lights blurred above him, nurses calling out instructions, but none of it mattered. He reached the door, hands shaking, praying for a miracle, a chance, anything. The doctor didn't have to speak. The look in his eyes was enough. But then he said the words every parent fears. "We did everything we could." The father's body collapsed. His heart shattered into 1,000 pieces on that cold hospital floor. He held his son's tiny hand, still warm, but without life. He stroked his hair. He whispered his name. He begged God to reverse time. But the room stayed silent. Except for his sobs, echoing through that cold, sterile air. Rain fell like the sky itself was grieving. People stood around him, but he felt utterly alone. The small casket lowered slowly into the ground, and with it, the last piece of his heart. He stepped inside the home, and silence hit him like a storm. The toys left on the couch. The little shoes by the door. Every memory felt like a knife. He wondered how a world so full yesterday could feel so empty today. He fell to the floor, gripping his chest, screaming into the carpet. No parent should bury their child. No heart should carry this kind of pain. He screamed until he had no voice left. Until grief swallowed the room. And then he looked up toward the ceiling and cried. "Why, God? Why did you take my son? Why him?" His words were half anger, half heartbreak, but fully human. He sat in the darkness for hours, just breathing, surviving. The world outside continued, but he didn't. He was trapped in a night that refused to end. And then, through the stillness, something happened. A whisper. Soft. Warm. "You are not alone." He froze. But no one else was in the room. A soft golden light filled the room, gentle as sunrise. And in that light, stood a figure. Calm. Radiant. Filled with compassion. Jesus. Not a vision. Not imagination. A presence so real it made his tears stop mid-breath. He turned slowly, trembling, overwhelmed with shock. His heart raced. His breath vanished. Because he knew, deep inside, that this wasn't a dream. It was him. Jesus knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. And the father felt a warmth he hadn't felt since the day his son was born. A warmth that embraced his brokenness instead of ignoring it. A bright meadow appeared beside them, glowing, peaceful, beautiful. And there, smiling, laughing, whole, was his son. Healthy, joyful, happy. The father collapsed into tears again. But this time, they weren't the tears of despair. Jesus spoke gently. "Your son is safe, and he is with me." Those words wrapped around his heart like healing itself. Light poured from Jesus' hand onto the Father's chest. Warm. Pure. Healing. He felt grief loosen, like chains being broken one by one. He leaned forward, and Jesus embraced him. A hug full of love, stronger than sorrow, deeper than pain. In that moment, a shattered heart began to mend. Jesus whispered, "Your story is not over. Your pain will become a testimony. Walk with me." He opened his eyes on the living room floor. Morning sunlight touched his face. For the first time since the tragedy, he felt breath fill his lungs without breaking him. He stood by his son's grave with flowers, but there was peace in his eyes. Not because the pain was gone, but because hope had returned. He walked into a church after years of staying away. He knelt in the front row and whispered through quiet tears, "Thank you for not leaving me in the dark." He walked toward the sunrise, soft wind blowing, eyes filled with warmth. He whispered, "I didn't just lose my child. I found my Savior." And as the light rose higher, one truth remained. God can turn the deepest grief into the deepest grace.